There are 3 critical steps that we can take to be sure that we get optimum results in non-surgical periodontal therapy. The first and the most important part is root cleanliness. So let's take a look at this root right here. This is tooth number 30, and we're looking at the distal portion of the root. How does that root look to you? Yeah, looks pretty darn good. You know what my hygienist said? My hygienist said, I thought this root was clean. And then she went down with a periodontal endoscope. Now what do you see? This triangle right here. That's calculus on that distal root surface of tooth number 30. It wasn't clean. It's about 6 millimeters below the gum line in an 8 millimeter pocket. We think we're achieving root cleanliness by feeling the root surface with the 17 Explorer and feeling a smooth root. And you know what? That's not true. In fact, that's been proven in a number of experiments, the most prominent of which was done by Roger Stambaugh 40 years ago, where he gave his hygienists as much time as they wanted to clean the root surface on teeth that were going to be extracted. They spent upwards of 25 minutes per tooth, cleaning the root surface off, extracting the tooth, and then looking at the tooth to see how effective the hygienist was. How effective was the hygienist? 3.73 millimeters on average. That's at 25 minutes per tooth. And there was no tooth that had a clean root below the 4 millimeter line. So if you've got a 4 millimeter or more pocket, and most people with periodontal disease do, we're not going to achieve root cleanliness by the typical things that we have been taught. It's not that you get the root smooth and clean and you check it with a 17 Explorer. You're not going to catch that. You're not going to catch that in a 6 millimeter pocket. Even a 5 millimeter pocket, 7 millimeter pocket, 8 millimeter pocket, you're not going to catch that. But if you go down with the endoscope and you see it, then you can see the root surface, and now you can take that root surface and get the root surface clean. Okay? So that's the first part of root cleanliness, 1A, if you will. 1B. Every root surface has microislands of calculus on it. So even if we remove the calculus via endoscopy, there is still some calculus left. And according to Cobb and Harrell, who did this research on extracted teeth, they root planed those teeth as much as they possibly could. Still, 30 to 50% of the surface was covered with microislands of calculus. Okay, so the next step is remove the microislands. And that's fairly simple. Use a 24% EDTA gel with a microbrush, and now you get this kind of result. The microislands are removed. Okay, so that takes care of the root cleanliness part of it. Let's go to the second step. There are a number of patients who have aggressive bacteria, and I want to identify who has aggressive bacteria and who doesn't. So with this particular company, we'll do salivary diagnostics. We'll find out at least the top 11 bacteria that are responsible for periodontitis and give us an idea as to what antibiotic might be useful in order to be able to take care of that problem. Okay, and we find out that, in fact, if we decide we're going to use antibiotics, and even if there's aggressive organisms, if we see aggressive organisms, but we see calculus, we're not likely to prescribe an antibiotic. But let's assume that you have an aggressive periodontitis, or what's called now a stage 4 grade C. What do you do there? We'll prescribe an antibiotic. So on that kind of a root surface, you'll put the probe in, the probe will just drop down. You'll feel no resistance at all. I want to put that patient on an antibiotic first, then reevaluate before we do any instrumentation at all to get an idea as to whether we've got some partial control just using the antibiotic. So we'll prescribe the antibiotic. We'll wait a week after the antibiotic is finished. We'll go back and we'll reprobe the patient and see if progress is being made in this kind of an aggressive case. If it is, then it's worthwhile doing treatment. And most often it is. On a patient who has calculus, we may decide to use an antibiotic depending on the nature and how deep the periodontal pocket is. But about 75% of the time, we won't do that. See how the patient does at reevaluation, and then decide whether we need that additional antibiotic or not. So clean root surface, or it feels clean, the probe just drops down, that's definitely, almost definitely aggressive disease. Use the antibiotic first. Root with calculus, but has aggressive organisms, maybe we'll use antibiotics, maybe we won't, depending upon the nature and how significant the disease is. Okay? So that's the second part of it. Identify the aggressive organisms and make the decision as to whether you're going to use antibiotics in conjunction with treatment or not. The third part of this, and the third part of this is occlusion. We want to see what teeth are in contact and what teeth aren't. And we'll use shim stock, which is a very thin piece of cellophane. You can buy that. You can buy that online. You can buy that at dental supply houses. For those of you who want to, I'm sure you can get shim stock online. If you're a patient who's looking at this, let's see which teeth are touching and which teeth are not. If a tooth is badly periodontally diseased and the patient is touching hard on that tooth, well, what would happen if you had a broken arm? You kept on banging that broken arm. The broken arm is never going to heal. We want to reduce the occlusion, adjust the occlusion, adjust the bite, so that tooth that's severely periodontally involved isn't taking force. The worst of the forces that there are is fremitus. You know what fremitus is? You tap and the tooth moves. Okay? You can feel it with your finger, particularly in the upper arch. Tap your teeth, and if the tooth moves, it's infremitus. Adjust out that fremitus before you do periodontal treatment. Okay? So those are the three legs. Remove the calculus. Remove the microislands of calculus. So it's part 1A and 1B. Take care of the aggressive organisms if you choose to, but at least identify them in advance. And then 3, let's get the bite surface adjusted. Now go down with your endoscope and identify all of the calluses present, clean, and then you have the opportunity for healing. So here's an example of the occlusion part of this here. So this patient, you can see a super erupted tooth number 7. He had fairly aggressive disease, but you can see these teeth in the back aren't in contact at all. So this tooth is taking a ton of force when these teeth are not in contact. So initially, we want to reduce the amount of bite support or bite force on this tooth, on tooth number 7. And later on, once we see success, and we did see success in this case, now let's replace this bridge so we get the back teeth in contact, and that neutralizes the forces on the front teeth. And notice, with shim stock, we'll notice that if the patient bites down on tooth number 3 and I can just slide out that shim stock, I know that's not in contact. So here we go. 3, 4, and 5 were not in contact. The rest of the teeth were. So these teeth weren't in contact. The rest of these teeth were. They were taking too much force. Let's take a look at a case. So a patient comes to me and says she'd seen somebody who told her that this tooth needs to come out. Look at the swelling around tooth number 24. And it hurts every time she bites down. So she came to see us for a second opinion. What do we do? Because she was told this tooth needs to be extracted. And sure enough, I think you look at it, it had a class 3 mobility to it. Take a look, and we take our CT scans in occlusion. I want them in occlusion. Why? I want to see that this tooth is in occlusion right there. You see tooth number 9? With tooth number 24, I can see occlusion, and so have the patient bite down. We take the CT scan so we can get an idea as to what teeth are meeting and what teeth are not. Let's move forward. So there's the tooth, and there's the CT scan of the tooth, and take a look at how much bone support is left on tooth number 24. Notice it isn't no bone support. It means that the patient's lost 90% of the bone support. It has a class 3 mobility because I can wiggle that tooth back and forth. And if I can wiggle the tooth back and forth, we'd say class 3 mobility, take it out. But it's the only tooth that's meeting. The person is only hitting on that one tooth. So what do you want to do? Let's look at this. So there it is. I didn't even probe here, but it has a class 3 mobility. Okay. What do you do? And so you tell me what you would do. Go ahead. Go through it right now. Lots of mobility. I wouldn't probe it. And the tooth is the only tooth that's in occlusion. So you know what you want to do. Let's do a bite adjustment on that tooth. And let's do that right now. That's what we did. I got the tooth numb. I placed it between my thumb and my forefinger. So I was stabilizing the tooth, and I took a red diamond, and that's what I did. What do you think the patient did? She breathed a sigh of relief. She can now get her other teeth together. Okay. Run the oral DNA test, which is what we did. And ordinarily, amoxicillin is the drug of choice. Amoxicillin and metronidazole is often the drug of choice as well. We have to give her some immediate relief, and so we prescribed antibiotics for her right away. This is the way she looked 1 week later. So there it is, all right here. And just the antibiotic. Remember I said aggressive disease, antibiotic only. And we splinted the tooth in place. This was after the patient came in a week later. She was comfortable. She was smiling. Look at what happened to the gum tissue just as a result of the antibiotic in an aggressive disease, or a stage 4 grade C disease. So we splinted on that day, and then we continued. This is the way the patient looks. So there's the PA. And that's the way she looked after we did the splinting, after we did the periodontal endoscopy, after we used the antibiotic, after we did the occlusal adjustment. She kept the tooth. We'll leave that tooth splinted as long as the patient wants it splinted. I'm certainly fine with that. But look at the bone that grow back. And remember, you saw the CT scan and what that looked like? There was the CT scan on the day that the patient walked into the office. There's the CT scan. About 6 months later, patient grew bone back. You think she wasn't happy? Yeah. Now, there's a key here. If you extract the tooth, you have no idea whether you could have treated the tooth or not. And the vast majority of teeth can be treated if we take care of all 3 legs of that triangle. Okay? Get the root surfaces clean. Periodontal endoscopy first. That's the only way we can get onto the root surface and get it clean. Okay, go ahead and remove the microislands using EDTA. So that's the root cleanliness part of it. Next part is do the occlusal adjustment. And then identify the aggressive organisms and make sure we've got all 3 of those parts under control. And we're going to save an awful lot of teeth. Now, does this happen all the time? We get periodontal control nearly every single time. No laser, no surgery, just get the root surface clean. So let's take a look at some examples, and we'll give you some terrific examples. Take a look at the distal tooth number 30, what that looks like, and look what it looks like over a year later. No bone graft, nothing else. Just get the root clean. The body wants to put bone back on the tooth. Another example, lower anterior teeth, and you see bone grows back 15 months later. Isn't that nice? Just take care of all 3 legs of this triangle, and you can get these results. Here's a long-term result. 5 years, patient grows bone back. Get rid of the calculus. You see the calculus right here, and the calculus is gone. The bone comes back. We have lots of opportunities for patients. And I can tell you that on a patient with severe periodontal disease, not caries, I'm saying severe periodontal disease, if we identify these 3 legs of the triangle and treat them appropriately, root cleanliness, take care of aggressive bacteria, make sure that the tooth isn't being pounded on, we don't have any fremitus, you can get these results too. If you have any questions, just write to me, lee@directorofdentistry.com, and I'll post the video. I've got a video, the 90-minute webinar that shows this in detail. I'll put that in the comments section. I welcome your comments as well.